Hi, and welcome back to the Business Show. Well, so many of us have businesses and they are family businesses, and aren't they a joy? We've got uncles, aunties, brothers, sisters, in-laws, outlaws, and the rest of them all causing problems, or thinking they know better. But how do we put this collective mix together and make it a sustainable, long-term, enjoyable and profitable project? And this is the main reason I've asked John Broons, the family business guy, into the studio to give us a little bit of his history and how he's made this work in his family and how he helps it work for other families. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Fantastic. Now, John, you're not one of these typical consultants that went out, read a book, did a training course, and then said, I'm the family business guy because look, I've got the certificate, I'll hang on the wall.
No.
Your journey started off a little bit different than that. Could you give us a bit of an intro into how you got into understanding family business?
I grew up in a family business. I was third generation in the family business. So my grandfather started the business. My father and uncle had worked in the business.
Right.
It was a very large business, so it was listed on the stock exchange.
Wow, what business were you in?
It was Broons Consolidated was the name of the company.
Yeah.
Broons Containers was the public company division. And it made boxes. So that's where the business was growing. It was started as timber and fruit boxes and drink boxes in the 40s and 50s. So became a timber company and other associated businesses.
So was it a large family that you had involved in the business?
It grew over time. So my grandfather started it. My father and uncle joined the business.
So you went through the generational
There was
changes.
generational change. Then there were cousins of mine that had joined the business. There were brothers-in-law of cousins of mine that were in the business.
Oh, wow.
So it was quite a large business, as I said. And then in the mid-60s, my grandfather passed away, and my father and uncle became majority shareholders. Some years later, they sold that business, but kept parts of the business.
Right.
So my uncle and father then went their separate ways. And I grew up in the bits that my father kept.
Right.
So I had an inkling, or I have memories of what my grandfather had built.
Yeah.
But I grew up into what my father had kept and built on himself.
I think that's one of the things that, just in my experience with family businesses, and obviously being fortunate to talk to yourself, the amount of history and the amount of twists and turns and directions family businesses going and where they actually end up. And it's like, how does someone, because at this stage then you've got your father's business, so how does this keep moving forward? You know, what happens to the family as these generations change?
My father and uncle, as I said, went separate ways. My father took one part of the business, or parts of the business, which were construction and associated timber interests, and my uncle went off and did other things with his sons and sons-in-law.
Right.
So, from a continuity point of view, my father was still in business and still running a business, and I still remember going in and visiting some offices in a little place called River Street, South Yarra.
Right.
And there were joinery shops there, and we were building windows and ladders out of timber. But now the Como Hotel sits on that site, and it's quite a lovely area.
So when your father's got it, now just because I know you, now comes that next generational change where they're going, what do we do with the business? And you say, well, I could buy it. Or did it not quite happen quite so smoothly?
No, it didn't happen that way. So when my father had the business, he was the owner-operator of the business. I have three older sisters. one of them came into the business and was working as my dad's right-hand person. I had brothers-in-law that had been in the business as well, and I was there. I'm the youngest of the kids, so I grew up working. I left school and went straight into the business.
Right.
So I was working under different managers in the business and learning from the bottom up. So when my father passed away,
Right.
some years later, my sister became managing director of the business, and brothers-in-law who were in the business were no longer in the business, and there was a recession in the late 80s. It was difficult times for the business, and my sister had indicated towards the end of the recession that she was interested in retiring, and I thought, well, about time that the paradigm should change.
Yeah.
And I went and approached my mother and asked whether or not she would be interested if I would put a proposal to her and the family. She actually owned everything after my father had passed away.
Right. Okay. So we get to this point, and I'm sure there's a lot of family business owners going, oh, here we go. There'll be people that love the idea, people who don't love the idea. What were 2 or 3 of the challenges, the main challenges of when you went to your mother and made that proposal? What actually came out of that? Because I can imagine, and from knowing you, and knowing other family businesses, they're never really a smooth transition. There's always a 1 or 2 little thorns going on in there.
Well, the dynamics in the family at times were tough, and we were under pressure. 5 families that were living off proceeds of a business.
Right.
Other family members had other income, but yes, the business was still creating wealth for the family.
Yeah.
So when I did put the suggestion to my mother, would she be interested? Not having anyone to talk to, I was running off the seat of my pants. So I decided to play a little bit of a political game, and then after my mother said yes, she would listen, then I went to my oldest sister, then my second sister, and then the youngest of the 3 sisters, and said, look, I've spoken to Mum, I'm going to put a proposal together, and we'll look at it, and I'll keep you informed. So after 6 months of calculating business values and property and other interests, I had a document that I prepared. Then I gave it to my mother on a Friday. Then the oldest sister, the middle sister and the youngest sister said I was available all weekend to talk to any of them about it, any questions they might have. And then we met in an accountant's boardroom on a Monday morning. Sisters, brothers-in-law, mother, stepfather, and my wife and I spoke to the document.
Right. Wow. And was everyone overjoyed?
Not so much overjoyed, but at the end of it there was an understanding. My whole idea in putting the proposal together was to try and make everything fair, and that was something that I mentioned when I spoke to the family. I said, look, Mum, you've always wanted it to be fair.
Yeah.
Or rather, you've always wanted us to be equal. So here we are. Today is today.
Yes.
We're all different ages. We're all different genders. And what's been in the past, we understand, and we all believe strongly that you've done the best that you can for all of us. But understanding that, what I've tried to do here with this document is to be fair, and make sure that everybody feels like they've been treated evenly.
Yes. Wow. When you went through that process and the family actually agreed and you ended up buying the business, what do you think, reflecting back now, would you have done anything differently? Or, because it's always easy to look in hindsight, but was there a couple of things you said, oh, maybe if I'd done that a little bit different, or I might have done that differently, or are you quite happy the way you managed to put it together? Because you were by yourself. You didn't have advisors back then going, look, we can help you with this.
I had, I needed to use the accountants that we had for the family, and they were the only people that I could talk with about this. They understood the finance side of things,
Yes.
and that was absolutely imperative and quite beneficial.
Mm.
But from an understanding of family dynamics and the way the family thinks, I was trusting my own instincts.
Yes.
Because there's history in family. You have to understand the history before you can start working with a family.
Now that's a really crucial point, and I think this is where your own experiences really do reflect that. And I do want to make a point of this, that you, as John, when he talks to families, this is really where you start, isn't it? Because you're not going in there saying, well, I know everything, so here's my bat and ball, and we'll do it this way. You actually go in and try to understand the family and the family dynamics. And you've often stressed to me, this is one of the most crucial points where you actually start before you can progress anyway.
Yeah, I've studied a lot since since I went through my own experience, and I've learned a lot. And in hindsight, having the knowledge of the history of the family makes a huge difference. Knowing the nuances to different individuals, to understand what they like, what they don't like, what your thoughts and interpretation of a particular set of circumstances may not be the same as your siblings' thoughts and experiences. Because we're all on our own individual life's journey, so trying to bring everybody together is a challenge.
Yeah. Someone going through that journey, and there are going to be families that are established, and all families are just changing. It's just the dynamics of having a family business. It's always changing. People on those transitional journeys, what would you say to someone now that is maybe going through a similar circumstance to what you went through, or their families getting together and said, you know, someone's got to take the helm, and they've got an accountant or they've got the family lawyer, but from your experience, where do you feel that, or what do you think they should be really looking at and going, okay, I need someone, even maybe like yourself. Why do they need someone like yourself in the room?
The hardest part is talking with the family, because there are paradigms, there are old instances that will always come up. Taking a sibling might remember when somebody took something out of 20 cents out of a purse when they were 6 years old, and that will still come into play in a family conversation about money today when they're in their 40s and 50s.
Yes.
So that kind of thing, knowing that when you work within your family and you want to have family discussions, having somebody outside that can stop the emotional charged exercise appearing out of nowhere needs to be considered. It's very hard to have family conversations with family about really important issues like money, property, investments, when you're inexperienced and don't understand yourself.
Yes, yeah, and I think this is one of the things when it comes to people like yourself, and well, you're at the forefront of it in Australia, you've been there for a long time. I'm going to just ask you quickly, because I am conscious of your time, stepping out of owning a family business, going through that journey, and then going, I'm going to help other people. What caused you to make that decision? What was the trigger for you?
I found when I bought the business off the family, or the transaction with the family occurred, all of a sudden I needed to talk to people about business. And I couldn't talk to the family anymore. So who do you talk to? And I found a group of people that I could work with and speak with, and openly, honestly, that had no vested interest in my business, and they weren't competitors or suppliers. So they helped me work out where I wanted to be, and I found that other friends that had come to me and started asking me questions of, how did you do that and stay friends with your family?
Yes.
Helped me start studying, finding people that would be able to teach me about the process of working with families.
because you certainly have studied a lot, and it's been a lifetime journey just about. You're always involved in family business, but you actually have done a lot of study, and you don't just rely on those past experiences. You continue to learn. That's one thing that strikes me about yourself.
Yes, in Australia we have Family Business Australia, so I've been involved with FBA for a long time. Early in the piece I was on the board of FBA as it was setting up in Australia. This is over in Melbourne where I live. And subsequent to FBA, where I am an accredited family business advisor through FBA, I've also studied with an organisation called the Family Firm Institute, which is based in Boston. FFI educate advisors all around the world.
Yes.
And I've done their courses, and in fact today, or a few years ago, it was conferred upon me a fellowship, so I'm a fellow of FFI. And I continue to read, research and learn, and I've been fortunate to share with a professor here in UWA. We did some research together, and I presented a paper in London a few years ago at a global conference of FFIs.
Fantastic. So people, and I just wanted to make that point because I think it's really important that you have been on the journey you've had the real life experiences, but you've also got all the accreditations as well and the skill sets that go with it. Someone looking there that's in a family business probably having the same emotional dramas as yourself. I've got no one to talk to because, we're all the same when we're a family business. Who do I talk to? What do you say to these people? What would you say to do right now if you feel in that bit of a quandary?
You need to find somebody to talk to. You need to find somebody to share your ideas with, knowing that you can trust them to keep it confidential.
Yeah.
You also need to have an understanding that they will treat you fairly, and they have background and information that will be able to educate you and share your journey or lead you on a journey.
Fantastic.
To get the experience.
I think that is excellent. As John Broons is commonly known as the family business guy for very good reasons. John, if I was watching this, I probably want to have a chat to you first. What's the best way of contacting you?
You can contact me by email for sure, which is really simply john@johnbroons.com.
There we go.
And my mobile phone is on, so you can have a look on the website. The phone number is on the website, johnbroons.com.
Now, John, I will just ask one thing, because quite often when we make a decision, and I don't know about people watching, but I know a lot of people, probably like myself, we go, I want to contact him, and then we go, I wonder what's going to happen when I do. And sometimes that can be like hesitant, but I always have it, well, I'm going to ring, but I wonder what will happen, what will it be like? What's it like, or what happens when the people contact you for the first time?
Most of the time, it ends up with a coffee.
Yeah.
And during the course of the coffee, it's a conversation. And it's lots of questions. The person who contacts me has lots of questions about what does it mean, where am I going to go, how's it going to affect me? And I have the questions that you will need to answer, whoever you may be, to put you on the right path that will be right for you.
That's absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate your time, John. We're going to be continuing this journey with John Broons, the family business guy, as he's commonly known, because he is Australia's leading and probably one of the best in the world at this. So it's a real privilege to have John on the show, and we're going to enjoy taking this journey on what you need to know and learn on your journey of running and owning a family business. Thank you very much, John. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.